to be more ambitious, and we have to be faster and build capacity and training, and give them, everyone, the tools so they can make their own decisions. Share knowledge and build capacity in other countries. Without that, thousands of years to recover. That's just the physics and the chemistry. It will take the biology.
Thanks. Thank you very much for the invitation. And it was important for us to be here, in particular, as you know, that oceans is very much part and parcel of many island states in the world. It was interesting, our group is called the Small Island Developing States, or SIDS. A couple of years ago, we had the Indian Prime Minister who came to Fiji, and he said, you are not small island states, you are large oceanic countries, which I thought was a very different perspective of looking at things. But ladies and gentlemen, of course, we Fijians, and of course all Pacific Islanders, I'm sure island states in India and the Caribbean also share a real concern with Europe on the state of our oceans and the relationship it has on our efforts with climate change. We know the functions of the ocean in regulating our climate and its importance in managing carbon and the air that we breathe, as was said by some of the other earlier speakers. At the same time, our human activities now threaten the health of the ocean. Pollution, over-harvesting, the destruction of coastal and marine habitats, like our coral reefs, of course, the bleaching occurs because of the rise in the temperatures. And now, of course, climate change is not only negatively impacting our ocean, but is reducing the ocean's ability to provide services for our climate itself. As you know, it's a major regulator as far as climate is concerned. Our message from the Pacific is that if we do not fix our oceans, we are unlikely to find a solution to climate change. Island countries are on the front line of climate change. The most severe of these impacts are related to impacts we now see in the ocean. Warming oceans have increased the severity of our storms, where last year actually we had Category 5 cyclone Winston that hit our country, killed 44 Fijians unfortunately. About 225 schools were damaged, approximately 40,000 homes were damaged, and of course it led during that particular event enormous increase in the temperatures in the ocean itself. Nearly a third of our GDP was actually wiped off because of this particular cyclone. And I'm sure many of the island countries in the Caribbean would have similar issues recently because of the climatic events they've faced. Of course, on the other hand, there are other countries that could actually virtually disappear. You have countries like Kiribati and Tuvalu and Marshall Islands that are one of the countries only 12 feet above sea level. So with the sea level rises, in a few years' time, many of the islands, or completely entire nations, actually could be submerged beneath water. This morning I was actually at a climate law gathering at one of the universities, and I talked about how it actually throws up a lot of legal issues also. If you have an archipelago of islands, and if you then measure economic zone from the last island, the 200-mile economic zone, if they start submerging, where then do you measure economic zone from? From the submerged island or from the island that's still above water? Of course, in our case, Fiji has also offered what some people call refugee status, because some of these countries, they do submerge beneath water, where will these people go? In Fiji, our Prime Minister, Honourable Prime Minister, has actually publicly stated that we'll take these people in. But again, it conjures up a lot of issues, such as what will be their legal status in those countries. Do you give them citizenships? Do they become permanent residents? How do you actually handle many of these issues that comes about because of these sea level rises? They of course threaten coastal areas in most of the populated coastal cities in the world. I mean, you have Miami that actually is threatened by sea level rises. You have, we understand with the current sea level rises, at least 17.5% of Bangladesh will go underwater. Huge levels of flatlands. We have already relocated 3 villages to higher ground. There's another 43 that actually have been earmarked that need to move to higher ground. It not only is a question of relocation, it's also a question about accessibility to land, sustainability of livelihoods. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we need to, from the presidency perspective, we have launched the Ocean Pathway that we hope will integrate the ocean into the UNFCCC process by 2020. Whether this requires an agenda item or work program or strengthening the ocean role in current processes, we need to work this out together. parties, non-state actors and experts. The Ocean Pathway, ladies and gentlemen, also calls for high ambition on actions for a healthy ocean at 1.5 degrees. We want those who use or are impacted by the ocean to step up on actions. Marine transportation, fisheries management and food security, protected areas and habitat restoration, blue carbon and the management of these reserves. These are critical contributions to the future of our planet. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Fiji and the Presidency, I would like to invite you to join us in launching an Ocean Pathway Partnership in our pavilion on the 16th of November that will ensure we get the ocean into the UNFCCC process. Thank you very much for this time. Vinaka, thanks.
Groups like Europe and developing countries can do. We have to be more ambitious and we have to be faster.